Can you imagine how low a child can stoop? It's easier for a child to succeed if you raise him as if he were a bandit. Nowadays, schools are also like small societies. You must tell your child not to make friends by flattering others. Don't be afraid of losing friends. Don't deliberately please others. This is not true friendship. Stay away from those who constantly give you nicknames. Classmates who constantly give you nicknames may seem to be joking, but in fact they are mocking you. There is no need to make friends with those who don't respect others. If you can show your child this comic version of Murphy's Law before he is 15 years old, it shows that you are a very far-sighted parent. This book teaches children the principles of social interactions and the methods to improve EQ. The Wild Horse Effect teaches children to maintain a stable mood. The principle of reciprocity understands that friends are attracted rather than flattered. The herd effect tells children not to blindly follow the crowd and to maintain the ability to think independently. It is not only a psychology science book but also a primer to cultivate the thinking and patterns of children. Comic stories make children immersed in the situation so they can grasp the concepts easily. Once finishing this book, your child will definitely impress you. Get your child a copy right away. It's easier for a child to Can you imagine how low a child can stoop to make friends? This is a life lesson that every parent must teach their child. Children who are afraid of being isolated often try to please others, which makes them very vulnerable to school bullying. Therefore, a child's social skills are extremely important, and this is something that parents need to cultivate. If you have a son or daughter, please tell them these social principles before they turn 13. I recommend this comic version of leadership to them. Why should children read this book? It helps them build a strong inner self, avoid losing themselves in social life, and become a person who respects others and is respected by others. For example, how to actively resolve conflicts, how to deal with others' ridicule, and what to do when having a dispute with a friend. Let them understand these social truths and develop a strong mindset earlier than their peers. This book uses a comic format that children love, and a lively and humorous language to distill 72 social problems that children may encounter during their growth. Teaching children to get along with others without being humble or fawning, and cultivating a strong inner self in children, making them a person with both high emotional intelligence and... Do you know the difference between a father and a mother? A father would tell his child, when you grow up, you must be filial to your mother. It's not easy for her to raise you through all the hardships. But a mother would say to her child, when you grow up, don't find a man like your father who is useless and incompetent. If the father has no money, the mother might leave. But if the mother has no money, the father will definitely not. There's no home without a father. This is how men build a nest to attract a mate, while women choose a good tree to perch on. The children can't see the hardships their father endures outside, but they can clearly see his shortcomings, because the mother will tell them all of the father's flaws without reservation, and even exaggerate them to belittle the father's image in the children's hearts and enhance her own status. Even when the children make mistakes, she will always mention the father when scolding them. You learned it from your father. Have you ever heard such words? Do you know the difference between a father and a mother? Children raised by irritable parents tend to have these 4 characteristics. First, they are very lazy, unwilling to write an extra word or do an extra problem. Second, they are slow and procrastinating, with poor self-control. Third, they daydream in class and have difficulty concentrating on tasks, showing no interest in learning. Fourth, they are sensitive and emotional, crying easily and unable to accept criticism. If you want to make up for such harm, you must show your child this comic version of Murphy's Law before they turn 15. Just put this book on the table and your child will secretly take it and finish reading it. This book teaches children the principles of social interactions and the methods to improve EQ. The Wild Horse Effect teaches children to maintain a stable mood. The principle of reciprocity understands that friends are attracted rather than flattered. The herd effect tells children not to blindly follow the crowd and to maintain the ability to think independently. It is not only a psychology science book but also a primer to cultivate the thinking and patterns of children. Comic stories make children immersed in the situation so they can grasp the concepts easily. Once finishing this book, your child will definitely impress you. Get your child a copy right away. Children raised by irritable parents tend to have these 4 characteristics. If a child has no one to play with at school, he will soon be isolated. In this situation, the child is very likely to be bullied at school. Therefore, a child's social skills are extremely important, and this is something that fathers need to cultivate. If you have a son or a daughter, please tell them these social principles before they are 13 years old. I recommend this comic version of leadership to them. Just put it in front of the child and he will put down his phone and take it to his bedroom. This set of books teaches children how to better interact with others and express themselves, how to make friends who can be with them for life without being humble or sycophantic. Children who read this book will know how to actively resolve conflicts, how to face others' ridicule, and what to do when they have disputes with friends. It teaches children to be sunny, confident, and strong inside without self-consumption, and to get along with others without being humble or sycophantic. Read it for 15 minutes before going to bed every day, and let your child become a popular child wherever he goes. Arrange one for your child. If a child has no one to play with at school, a kid being too timid isn't because they're dumb, it's because the dad doesn't know how to teach. By the time a kid turns 14, there are some unspoken rules they'll face. If you don't tell them, it'll be too late. Tell your kid that if no one wants to play with them, they should just play alone. There's no need to try to please others. It's just not worth it. Even if you can see what kind of people some are at school, don't just expose them or have a falling out with them. No matter who you're talking to, speak up loudly, and you've got to be brave enough to look the other person right in the eye. Be confident and act naturally. Don't be all meek and hesitant. If someone wants something of yours and you don't feel like giving it, don't just sit there being too scared to say no. Just ask them, what are you going to trade me for it? That's what we call turning the tables. I suggest parents let their kids read this Murphy's Law book before they're 15. After reading it, kids will know they need to think for themselves and not just follow others blindly. When they notice some bad habits, they'll know to face up to their weaknesses and fix them right away. While learning to control their tempers, they'll also learn to be thankful to their parents. Get them into good habits from a young age to help them grow up healthy. Go on and get a copy for your kid right away. A kid being too timid isn't because there are 4 types of children who should not be beaten. With the right guidance, they have a great potential to become outstanding talents in the future. The first type is very lazy, not willing to write an extra word or do an extra problem. The second type is always procrastinating and lacking initiative in everything they do. The third type is prone to daydreaming in class and has difficulty concentrating on tasks. The fourth type has a fragile heart, easily crying and unable to accept any criticism. If you have such a child at home, how should you guide them? I recommend that you give them a comic version of Murphy's Law before they turn 15. Just place this set of Murphy's Law on the table, and the child will secretly finish reading it on their own. This book uses comics to illustrate nearly 100